All right, let's just jump right into this explainer because today we are tackling literally the most universal and honestly kind of bizarre habit of the modern age, the phantom phone check. Look, if you're watching this right now, chances are you've got a glowing rectangle sitting within arm's reach, right? And you probably interact with the thing dozens, if not hundreds of times a day. Well, today we're going to break down the actual science of exactly why that happens.
So picture this. You're mid-conversation with a friend, or maybe you're just deep in the zone working, or honestly, maybe you literally just woke up. And suddenly, as if by magic, your phone is right there in your hand. There was no chime, no vibration. You have absolutely zero notifications waiting for you. So why exactly did you just check it? Your hand moved, your eyes dropped, all before you even consciously made the decision to do it. For a split second, that pull was just stronger than whatever else you were doing. First things first, I want to immediately take that guilt right off your shoulders. You need to understand that this is not a character flaw. It's not a lack of discipline or some terrible habit you formed. It is actually a physiological mystery tied directly to our ancient survival instincts. We spend so much time blaming ourselves for what is essentially a battle between modern technology and a neurological system that is running exactly the way it was designed to run. It's an evolutionary mismatch. So let's peel back layer one, the evolutionary seeking system. To get this, we kind of have to travel back, about 200,000 years ago to the savannah. See, our ancestors' brains weren't built for certainty at all. They were built to be insanely sensitive to uncertainty. For them, unresolved questions, like a sudden rustle in the grass or wondering if a specific berry was poisonous, those unknowns were incredibly dangerous. Human biology evolves to compulsively resolve uncertainty because leaving a question unanswered could literally get you killed. Now, obviously today we don't have predators hiding in the grass, but our brains, they still process an unread message or social media update as a vital unknown that simply must be resolved right now. And his whole thing is driven by what affective neuroscientist Jack Panksepp called the seeking system. It's this dedicated neural circuit that essentially forces us toward exploration and gathering info. Here's the kicker, though. It doesn't activate when you've actually found the answer. It activates specifically when you are facing the unknown. It makes the pure act of looking for answers feel incredibly urgent and deeply rewarding. And a smartphone notification? Yeah, that is arguably the most perfectly designed trigger for the system that has ever existed in human history. And wow, the neuroscience totally backs this up. Robert Sapolsky over at Stanford found something wild. Our dopamine actually spikes the highest when we are anticipating a reward, rather than when we actually get it. It proves that the human brain literally craves the maybe way more than the yes. Unpredictable rewards produce a dramatically stronger dopamine rush than predictable ones. So your brain is getting a massive neurochemical high just from the anticipation that the next time you swipe your screen, you might see something awesome. Which brings us right to layer two, the slot machine effect. Look, modern app developers didn't just stumble onto this stuff by accident. No way. They engineered these platforms to exploit those exact survival instincts. Your smartphone functions exactly like a slot machine in your pocket. Tristan Harris, a former design ethicist, hits the nail on the head here. He points out how a concept called variable ratio reinforcement keeps you pulling that digital lever. Sometimes you check your phone and nothing, boring. But other times, boom, a highly validating message or an incredibly funny video. Because that reward isn't guaranteed, the sheer unpredictability creates this trance-like compulsion loop. You are, quite literally, being conditioned exactly like a gambler at a casino. In fact, Silicon Valley relies on something called the hook model to automate our behavior. It's wild. It starts with a trigger, maybe it's a ding from your phone, or honestly, just internal boredom. Then comes the action, which is usually scrolling. Next is that variable reward we just talked about, that completely unpredictable hit of dopamine. And finally, the investment. You leave a comment or you drop a like, which essentially guarantees that you'll be triggered to come back later just to see the response. It's a perfect loop. To really wrap your head around just how powerful that variable reward is, think about your refrigerator. Every single time you open your fridge, the little light turns on inside. It's a linear, fixed reward. You know exactly what's going to happen, so you don't open the fridge 100 times a day just to see the light, right? But imagine if your fridge told a brand new joke every single time you open the door. You'd open it constantly. And that is exactly why the infinite scroll and unpredictable notifications are so entirely impossible to put down. It's a nonstop feed of novelty. Moving on to layer three, the cost of mere presence. Let's talk about what all this constant anticipation does to our cognitive function on a daily basis. You might think, hey, if I'm ignoring my phone, I'm not distracted. Like if it's on silent and face down on the table, you're 100% focused, right? Well, the science of attentional capture says otherwise. The mere presence of your device has a profound, hidden cost, even when the screen is totally dark and the phone is dead silent. Just look at this data from a University of Texas study. They call it the brain drain effect, and it is fascinating. It reveals that just having your phone in your line of sight literally occupies your limited capacity working memory. Why? Because you are actively, even subconsciously, using mental energy to inhibit the automatic urge to check it. Your brain is essentially dual tasking at all times, trying to do your work while simultaneously fighting 200,000 years of evolutionary pressure telling you to grab that glowing rectangle. And all of this brain drain leaves you with way fewer cognitive resources for actual problem solving, which measurably drops your functional fluid intelligence. Meanwhile, those variable rewards keep you in a perpetual state of anticipatory arousal and ambient anxiety. Over time, all this constant context switching completely fragments our attention span. Worse still, checking the phone becomes this automated tool for escapism. We instinctively reach for it to suppress even the mildest feelings of boredom, stress, or an awkward moment in an elevator, which essentially prevents us from developing genuine emotional tolerance. All right, here's the good news. Layer 4, the escape plan. So how do we actually reclaim our attention? No, I'm not going to sit here and preach a total digital detox, because for most of us, completely throwing our phones in the ocean just isn't an option in the modern world. Relying purely on willpower is a losing game against a multi-billion-dollar algorithm. When you try to just be better at not checking your phone, you're pitting your tired, conscious mind against systems optimized by literally the smartest behavioral engineers on the planet. This is exactly why behavioral science suggests we need to introduce friction. We have to create deliberate physical and digital barriers that disrupt that automated, unconscious habit loop before it even gets a chance to start. This is where structural interventions come in. Try turning your screen to grayscale. It literally removes those hyperstimulating colors that were specifically designed to attract your eye. Go ahead and disable all non-essential notifications. That cuts out the auditory and visual triggers that set off your seeking system in the first place. Deleting social apps from your home screen? That means you actually have to deliberately search for them, adding just enough friction to make you pause and think. And carving out physical boundaries like a strict phone-free morning routine gives your brain actual, dedicated time to rest from all that anticipatory arousal. As you implement these barriers, you're literally building a path to recovery. Now, it takes time to downregulate those overloaded dopamine receptors, but a structured timeline like this shows how you can progressively retrain your brain. Actually, a quick heads up. For the first few weeks, you might even experience a bit of anhedonia, where everyday offline activities feel kind of boring. But stick with it, because by week 4, research shows a totally noticeable restoration in your capacity for sustained, deep attention. You really can recalibrate those neural pathways. The absolutely crucial thing to take away from this explainer is this. Phantom checking? It is not a weakness. It is a hijacked survival instinct. When we destigmatize the behavior and recognize it for what it is, an automated physiological response, we can finally stop beating ourselves up and actually start making meaningful, structural changes to our digital environments. So, I want to leave you with this. The very next time you feel your hand automatically reaching for your pocket or your desk to grab that glowing rectangle, just take one deep breath. Pause the autopilot and ask yourself what you're truly seeking in that moment. Is there an actual, genuine problem you need to solve right now, or is your evolutionary seeking system just craving a quick spin on the digital slot machine? Honestly, just understanding the difference is the very first step to taking your mind back. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.